Welcome back to the Technology Risk Podcast. We're really glad you could join us today for a discussion that, quite frankly, is overdue.
It really is.
We're looking at a scenario that is keeping a lot of risk managers up at night. And if we're being honest, it should probably be keeping a few CEOs awake, too.
It definitely should be. I mean, the landscape is shifting right under our feet.
Before we jump into the details, and believe me, we have a lot of ground to cover, could you just take a quick second right now, pull out your phone, hit that subscribe button?
Yeah, please do.
Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, wherever you get your audio, subscribing, just make sure you don't miss these updates.
And you really don't want to be playing catch-up in this industry. Things move too fast.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Imagine the date is January 18th, 2026. This is, a hypothetical, but a very probable scenario based on what we're seeing.
Right.
A massive headline hits the wire. A supplier connected to Boeing has disclosed a significant data exposure. Internal documents are out in the wild.
But here is the catch, and this is the part that really matters for everyone listening. Boeing's own core systems were completely untouched.
They were clean.
Totally clean. The firewall held, the endpoint detection, it all worked perfectly.
And yet, the panic wasn't contained to just that one supplier, was it?
Not at all. It spread. So the real question is, why are we talking about a breach that technically didn't hit the main company?
Because in 2026, the rules of the game have just fundamentally shifted.
Exactly. If your supplier sneezes, you catch the flu. We are looking at a classic case of what we call the quiet supplier problem.
Let's define that for the listeners. When we say quiet supplier, who are we talking about?
We aren't talking about your big tech providers like Microsoft or Salesforce. Those are the loud suppliers. Everyone's watching them.
Right.
The quiet supplier is that small to mid-sized manufacturer making a specific bracket, or the logistics firm handling shipping for just one region.
The ones that operate under the radar.
Totally under the radar. They don't have a massive security team. But here's the kicker. They have your data.
And when they leak, the market doesn't seem to care that your servers were secure.
No, they don't. It's a distinction without a difference to the public. And that is why today isn't really just about Boeing. They're just the catalyst here.
So what is it about?
It's about why, specifically for you SMB manufacturers out there, being audit-ready is now just as important as being secure.
That's a bold statement. I mean, audit-ready sounds like paperwork. Secure sounds like keeping the bad guys out. Are you saying the paperwork is as dangerous as the hackers?
I am saying the paperwork, or, the lack of it, can bankrupt you faster than the hackers can.
Wow.
It's the difference between locking your own front door and then realizing your neighbor gave a spare key to someone you don't know.
And you can't prove you didn't give out that key.
You're liable. Simple as that.
Okay, let's break down the incident itself. January 18th, the supplier leaks internal documents. So was this some sophisticated, nation-state attack?
No, and that is the frustrating part. It rarely is. It was a data exposure.
So negligence.
Essentially, yeah. It wasn't a firewall that got burned down. It was a door left open.
Yeah.
But it immediately raised questions about access controls, about governance.
It wasn't just, oops, we lost a file.
No, it was, wait a minute, why did you have that file and who else could see it?
That question is what drives the scrutiny. And I know you brought some numbers on this.
I did. I was looking at the latest figures from IBM X-Force, and they have a statistic that just stops you in your tracks.
Okay.
63% of manufacturing breaches now originate from third-party vendors, not the manufacturer themselves.
63%. So the majority.
The vast majority. So if you're a CISO or a CEO at a manufacturing firm, just think about where your security budget is going.
Right. You're spending millions on your perimeter.
Exactly.
Right.
Biometric scanners, 24/7 SOC monitoring, the works.
Yeah.
But the bad guys, they aren't attacking your perimeter. They're attacking the vendor you pay to make cardboard boxes.
Which brings us to the implications for the big players, the primes like Boeing. They have these massive regulatory obligations.
Huge. CMMC, government contracts breathing down their necks. So when a supplier leaks data, it triggers a chain reaction.
They have to ask, could this happen to us?
Instantly. Who else has this data? Even though Boeing was safe, that scrutiny spreads like wildfire.
This is what the industry calls the brand halo effect, right? And usually a halo is a good thing.
In risk management, the brand halo has a blast radius. From a business perspective, customers do not differentiate.
They just see the logo.
They see the logo. If I see sensitive blueprints with the Boeing name on them, I don't stop to read the fine print about which Tier 3 vendor left a server open.
It just feels like a Boeing breach.
It smells like a Boeing breach.
Yeah.
And the stock market might even react like it is one.
It's guilt by association.
It's actually quantified guilt. Deloitte put out a study showing that 78% of customers hold the primary brand accountable for third-party breaches.
78%.
If you're the big name on the box, you take the hit for the entire ecosystem.
Which explains the aftermath. It's never just the breached vendor who suffers. This triggers what we call a cascade review.
The cascade.
The prime contractor, Boeing in this case, has to go verify everyone else. They start digging into their Tier 2 and Tier 3 vendors.
And that is where the quiet vendor suddenly loses their invisibility.
Right.
Usually, these smaller suppliers, they operate below the radar, they do their job, ship their parts, get paid. This incident flips the spotlight on them overnight.
And that spotlight is expensive.
Incredibly expensive. And I want to talk directly to the SMB manufacturer who might be listening right now. You might be thinking, well, my systems are clean. I didn't leak anything. I'm safe.
I'm not the one who messed up.
Exactly. But the reality check for 2026
Yeah.
is that you can be audited without being breached.
And that's the big aha moment when it comes to the money. We were looking at data from the Ponemon Institute on this.
Yeah, that number is staggering.
The average unplanned supplier audit costs a small to mid-sized business between $75,000 and $150,000.
Just let that sink in for a second.
That's not a fine. It's not a ransom payment. It is just the cost of answering the questions.
It's the cost of proving you're innocent.
But how do you get to $150,000 just filling out forms? Break that down.
Well, it's not just forms. It's disruption. First, you have to pull your best engineers off the production line to answer security questionnaires.
And these aren't 10 questions long.
Oh no, they're 500 questions long. What's your encryption standard for data at rest? Show me your network segmentation logs from last June.
So you're losing productivity immediately.
Immediately. Then you realize you can't answer half of them, so you hire external consultants. That's billable hours piling up. Then you might have to rush implement a fix, paying overtime rates over a weekend just to pass the audit on Monday.
It's pure panic spending.
It is absolutely panic spending. And let's be honest, it's an unfunded mandate. You didn't budget for panic audit response this year.
And it isn't going away. PwC reported that 71% of large manufacturers plan to tighten supplier cyber requirements in 2026.
The screws are tightening. This isn't a wave that washes over and recedes. This is the new sea level.
So if the water is rising, we need to understand where the leaks are actually coming from.
Right. Let's talk root causes. When we look at these third-party failures, what's actually breaking?
It usually comes down to a distinction between data exposure and data control. Can you explain the difference?
Sure. Data control is, I know where my data is, I know who can see it, and I can delete it. Data exposure is, I put it somewhere and I hope no one else finds it.
And the biggest culprit here is what we call the oversharing problem.
It's huge. And it's not even malicious. It's people trying to be efficient, which often looks like being lazy in hindsight.
How so?
Okay, you hire a vendor to analyze one specific component. Instead of sending just the files for that component, someone zips up the entire project folder and sends it over.
Because it's faster. It's faster.
The principle of least privilege is so rarely enforced in supply chains because it introduces friction. But that friction is safety.
And when you send everything, you're betting your whole company's reputation on that vendor's security.
A posture that is often, let's call it vintage.
Vintage is a polite way to put it.
I mean, we see so many legacy issues. I'm talking about old FTP servers that have been running since the early 2000s.
The one sitting under a desk with a sticky note that says, "Do not turn off."
The digital attic. And just like a real attic, you put stuff in there and you forget about it. This leads to what we call long retention.
The project's over, but the data isn't.
Exactly. You finish a project in 2024, but the documents linger on that vendor's server well into 2026 and beyond. It is a ticking time bomb.
So, okay, the spotlight is coming. The question is, how do we not panic?
We need a playbook. We've broken this down into a 5-step approach to reduce these shock waves. If you're listening and you want to avoid that $150,000 hit, this is what you do.
Step 1, and this is so critical, map your data radius.
This sounds simple, but very few companies do it well. You need to know exactly what data leaves your organization and who holds it.
So how do you actually do that?
You follow the money. Look at your accounts payable. Who are you paying? If you pay them, you likely send them data. Then ask the hard question. Does vendor X send our data to their subcontractor Y?
If you don't have a map, you can't defend the territory.
Precisely. Step 2 is about the non-negotiables. You have to enforce minimum controls.
And we're not talking about asking nicely.
No. These have to be contract requirements, multi-factor authentication, encryption, both at rest and in transit, and critically, incident notification SLAs.
Let's touch on MFA. Why is that the hill to die on?
Because credential theft is the easiest way in. Vendors share accounts, admin and password 123. You have to demand MFA on any account that touches your data, period.
And the SLAs.
If they have a breach, they need to tell you within 24 or 48 hours, not 3 weeks later when it hits the news. You cannot be the last to know.
Okay. Step 3 is about architecture. Segment supplier access.
This is all about containment. Don't give a parts supplier the keys to the whole castle.
So if they need blueprints for the landing gear,
They should not have access to the avionics software. Separate your networks, separate your repositories. A flat network lets a vendor pivot from one system to another. It makes no sense.
Step 4 is one of my favorites because it's pure preparation, the audit-ready packet.
Think of this as your go bag for audits. When that email comes from your prime contractor asking for your security posture, you shouldn't be scrambling.
You should have a folder ready to go, so what's in the bag?
Your security policies, your mappings to standards like NIST or CIS, an overview of your incident response plan. You want to be able to reply within an hour with, "Here is everything you need."
That changes the whole psychology of the audit.
It does. You look professional and prepared, not guilty and disorganized. You want the auditor to look at your packet, check the boxes, and move on because they're bored. Bored auditors are good auditors.
Love that. Okay, step 5 is a unique one. Practice the no breach response.
This is all about preparing communications for when someone else is breached, but you get pulled into the narrative.
So when the reporter calls, or the customer calls,
You need a script. You need to be able to say, "We are aware of the incident at vendor X. Our systems are secure. We have verified our data was not impacted." You have to control the narrative before speculation starts.
to make this real, let's talk about a tale of two vendors. We've seen this play out.
We certainly have.
Let's start with the success story.
Okay, so we worked with an aerospace SMB, small company, maybe 60 employees, but they were smart. They had pre-segmented all data related to their major clients.
They enforced least privilege.
Strictly. No zip file dumps. And when the audit wave hit, after a different supplier had an issue,
What happened?
they had the go bag, they sent over their packet, showed their segmentation logs, the auditors reviewed it, and that was it. They moved on. Preparation turned a crisis into a routine process.
Zero downtime, zero panic.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with the failure example.
Okay.
A parts supplier, great at making parts, terrible at data governance. They just shared broad document access with subcontractors on a shared portal,
The digital attic again.
the digital attic. And inevitably, one of those subcontractors had a leak. Because the part supplier shared so much, the exposure was massive.
So what was the fallout?
Contract suspension. They couldn't bid on new work for months while they went through remediation. They had to hire outside firms to clean up the mess.
And in this industry, months of downtime can kill a business.
It wipes out your margins for the entire year. The lesson is simple. Convenience today is liability tomorrow.
So as we wrap up, what's the big shift we're seeing here?
Trust is now a contract requirement. It's no longer enough to have a good product at a good price. Your cyber hygiene is a sales asset.
I like that phrase. Cyber hygiene is a sales asset.
It really is.
Uh-huh.
If you can prove you're secure, you are a lower risk partner. That wins contracts. I'm choosing the vendor with the go bag every single time.
We call this building audit muscle. We really encourage listeners to build that muscle. Treat audits as an operational capability, like payroll, not an emergency.
That's the key. If you treat it like a fire drill every time, you're going to get burned.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from that specific Boeing scenario to the broader economics of third-party risk.
And if I could leave our listener with one final thought, it is this. In 2026, in these supply chains, your security reputation is shared. You're sharing it with everyone you do business with, whether you like it or not.
You are only as secure as your worst vendor.
That's it. So choose your partners carefully and watch your data like a hawk.
That is the reality we are all living in. Thank you for joining us on the Technology Risk Podcast. We hope this helps you navigate the quiet supplier problem.
And before you go, one last reminder. Please subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or your preferred platform. We have a lot more coming, and you won't want to miss it.
Stay safe, stay prepared, and we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.